Might be interesting to read a collection of love stories for February because February is like the love month. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Aisha. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we talk about books, my experiences as an international student, and hopefully very soon I'll be bringing in new genres and new topics and new things to talk about because I have a lot to talk about. I almost did not film this episode, unfortunately. Me that I said I'm going to be posting videos weekly. My life is not even this difficult yet, and I almost did not film this video. If you remember one of my last videos, I think it was the old video, I mentioned that it would be nice to do like a love theme in February. I kind of did that. So this video is going to be my February wrap up, and I basically read love in February. Yay! So I'm going to be sharing some of the books that I read in February. I will give you a quick rundown of whether or not I like the books, what the books are about, blah blah blah. Just basic monthly wrap-up thing. So the first book I read in February is this book, We Wrote in Symbols, Love and Lost by Arab Women Writers, edited by Selma Dabad. Now this book is an anthology. You guys know that I like anthologies, so anyhow we'll bring anthologies in, I will do it. So this book is an anthology of works by over 75 female Arab writers from as old as before Islam, so pre-Islamic times, to now. Some of the contributors to this anthology, I've read some of their works previously. The editor, Selma Dabag, she's of Palestinian origin, and she contributed to one anthology that I read a while back in 2021 called Kisat, a collection of short stories by Palestinian women. And some of our co-contributors in that anthology also featured in this anthology, like Randa Jarar. She wrote a book recently that I can't remember the name, but she's an author as well. Yes, Love is an Ex-Country. Now, some of the entries in this anthology are short as just 2 lines, and they hit home. Like, they were not playing when they mentioned love and lost. No, this collection is very erotic in some of the entries. You would definitely feel that description. You would feel the desire, the lust, the love in all of the sexual scenes that are described in this book. Arabs are not only Muslims. Muslim does not equate Arab, and Arab does not equate Muslims. So the writers in this anthology are of 3 main Abrahamic religions, so Judaism, Christianity, Islam. You would definitely be able to pick up on some of the characters' religious identity in the stories. Not all of the stories in this anthology it's right. It's very rare for you to find an anthology where every single entry does the job. This is not an anomaly. Not all of the stories each right. I think I skipped about 2 stories because that's what I do when I read anthologies. When one entry is not eating right, I just skip it because I don't want to miss out on all of the good ones that might be in the book. So I give this book 4 stars because the stories that eat right really eat right. Another thing I forgot to mention is that some of the entries in this anthology are actually excerpts from published books. If you are a fan of Leila Slimani, there's an excerpt of Adele in this book. If you're a lover of Najwa Barakat, there's also an excerpt of O Salam in this book. There's also an excerpt of The Parisian by Isabella Hamad, excerpt of Randa Jarrah's A Map of Home. So the titular story of this anthology, We Wrote in Symbols, was written by someone called Ulayya bint Al-Mahdi, and it's kind of like a poem that tells the stories. So my favorite entry in this collection is called Fig Milk. It's also an excerpt and is written by Samia Isa, and apparently this entry in this book is the first time that this author's work will be translated from Arabic into English. And why I like this story is that it brings to life something that is very obvious but we rarely think about. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what the story is about. It's basically about this old woman in a Palestinian refugee camp, I think in Jordan or Kuwait, can't remember. But this woman, Shah, she's in a refugee camp and she has lost her husband. I read this book on the first week of February. My brain is fuzzy. Anyway, so this woman basically goes on a sexual discovery journey. She's rediscovering her body sexually through masturbation. What I like about that story is that it asks us that question: how do we think that people that are displaced, people that are displaced from their home, people that are refugees, how do we think they handle sexual desire, especially like teenagers, children that grow up in refugee camps? How do we think they handle the desire that is growing along with them, the desire that comes with puberty, especially when we look at it from the Palestinian point of view? You've been displaced from your home, your grandparents have gone through the Nakba, you are living this experience. How do you reconcile wanting to fulfill your sexual desires with the craziness and the emotional displacement that comes with being Palestinian and being displaced? In this story, I don't want to spoil the story, but basically this woman rediscovers herself sexually, and we also see the story of two other men along with her, them as well discovering themselves sexually. But I like the translation of this story too. Beautiful. I gave this book 4 stars, and that was the start of the anthology. Fig Milk, an excerpt by Samia Isa. The second book I read in February is this anthology as well called A Match Made in Heaven. British Muslim Women Write About Love and Desire. This is also an anthology of short stories, and it is edited by Claire Chambers, Nafisa Ali and Richard Phillips. This collection contains works by 16 writers. One of them is Aisha Malik. You might have read one of our books. She's the author of Sophia Khan Is Not Obliged and This Green and Pleasant Land. I've read This Green and Pleasant Land. I think I gave this anthology 3.5 stars. Now, when I picked up this book, I was not expecting the stories to follow the Islamic framework. I'm not naive, and I don't live in the delusion that every Muslim woman follows the guideline of like sex and love and whatever in Islam. It's not realistic, and it's naive to expect that. But maybe because many of the contributors to these anthologies are just upcoming writers, the anthology didn't deliver as much as I wanted it to. Some of the writings were just like mediocre. Some of the stories were trying to add. Many of the stories were just portraying like weird vibes. My favorite story, my favorite entry is Love Letter by Shelina Jam Mohammed. She describes love to a child. She's basically writing a love letter to a child, describing the beauty of falling in love in Islam to her, and how falling in love with your partner, has a direct link with the love that you have for your creator. Another story that I really like is Acid Reflux by Afshan Desalsa Lodi. I like that the author takes a concept that is typically associated with a negative in Islam, takes it and uses it to portray Islamophobia. And that concept leads to love for our main character. So I just like that story. It's very short. It was hard-eaten. It's probably weird and unfair to compare some of these writers to others, because like I said, some of them are new coming writers and some of them are like published writers. This anthology was born out of like a writing workshop, so I kind of forgive the mediocrity of some of the stories. I just feel like some of these stories were trying to add. This anthology reminded me of Love Inshallah, also an anthology of love by American Muslim women. Some of the stories in that anthology were shaded as well. But anyway, I gave it 3.5 stars because, again, it was an enjoyable read, very easy to read. Some of the stories were gems. I would give it that. Oh, I forgot to mention, another entry that I really like is by Bina Shah, and it is called Peter Puchman Goes to Dinner. Oh my goodness, I love this entry so much. It was laced with the right amount of satire and social commentary that I just like. I don't want to give it away, but basically, this man called Peter Puchman is a white man. He goes to dinner in his employee's house, and his employee is a Pakistani man that recently brought his wife from Pakistan, and his wife wears niqab. Basically, Peter Pochman is trying so hard at this dinner not to come off as the weird white guy, and he basically has this altercation with the wife because he found out that like the wife is very outspoken. It's just a very weird ass story that I really enjoyed. Another book that I read in February is this anthology. I know, don't say it. I know I have a problem. I just enjoy anthologies. It's not my fault, is it? Anyway, this anthology is called Who's Loving You? Love Stories by Women of Color, edited by Sarita Domingo. So this collection contains 10 entries from 10 different women of color. I believe I gave this anthology 3.5 stars as well, 3.5 stars. So the first story in this anthology is called The Watchers by Kelechi Okafor. I love the first story. It grabbed me into this anthology. The word building, the story, the writing in the first story is brilliant. I've never read anything by Kelechi Okafor, but I would definitely be looking for her works now, because the first story in this anthology is page turner, and it is why I gave it 2.5 stars. I would have probably given it 3, but the first story is brilliant. If all of the stories in this anthology had continued at the same pace as the first story, I would have given it 5 stars. But unfortunately, so we have this unnamed narrator that is a watcher, and watchers are basically just beings that watch other beings fall in love and like make decisions in real life. So we follow 2 characters called Chinonso and Ndidi, and the watcher is telling us their story, how they come to fall in love every single time they come back to life, every single lifetime, how they fall in love. The watcher is describing this life and how they are about to fall in love in this life, but then they go back in time to describe how they fell in love at one other point in time. It's just a very beautiful story, because he manages to even put colonialism and slavery in there somewhere, but it's not like in a way that weighs you down. I really enjoyed the first story, but I actually enjoyed the second story as well, because I like how it plays with the concept of time. I just wish that the ending wasn't as rushed as it was. Basically, I think those are the only 2 stories that I really enjoyed. From there, it just went like downhill. I wish the stories didn't have the ambience of, sadness as it did, because it's, love stories by women of color. I disliked that each of the story had that air of sadness that kind of perpetuates the trauma tag that is given to women of color ish. I don't think that's what the editor of this anthology wanted to do, but the stories had this sad air, this sad vibe, and it wasn't really working for me. I wish he didn't have that sad vibe. There was one story though. The story is called Brief Encounters and is written by Sarah Collins. The concept of that story is basically how people decide to choose their partners, continue to love their partners, even though there are temptations outside that would want to stop you from loving your partner, basically. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I wish the stories were happier. I wish the stories were like some of the stories in the next book that I'm going to talk about. And the next book that I picked in February is Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. I think aside from When We Wrote in Symbols, that is probably my favorite read of the month, even though I did not give it 5 stars. I don't have any 5-star read this month, but When We Wrote in Symbols and Love in Color are as close as we get to 5 stars. So Love in Color by Bolu Babalola, I've wanted to read that book for a while, but I was just like, maybe not, maybe. So Love in Color by Bolu Babalola is a collection of 13 love stories. The first 10 love stories are based on myth around the world, but like of color. And the last 3 stories are just like contemporary stories that the author wrote herself, and it is heavily focused on like Yoruba-ish characters. The last 3 stories. The last story, which is called Alagomeji, is basically based on the life of the author's parents, and I think that was like the most beautiful story. That was a story that emphasized the beauty of the author's writing. The first 10 stories are based, like I said, on different myths. The author just contemporizes the story, if that is a word. So what I like the most about the first 10 stories is how the author highlights some of the favorite romance tropes that we have now. She highlights it in this myth, basically telling us like all of these romance tropes that we like now, they've happened in the past before. She picks some of this myth and she basically gives the main characters, the women, agency, because many of these myths end either in sadness or they have a lot of like violence and misogyny inside them. It's just weird. So she gives the female characters agency. So I have the tropes. I wrote them out because I'm fangirling like that. So the first story is Oshun. The story is based on Oshun, and the trope that she basically highlights is rich, high class, aloof, enigmatic girl falls for poor low class boy that sees her for her. Like, with that, high class girl, everybody wants to be her, but they probably think like she's proud or whatever. And then she falls in love with this like lower class guy that like genuinely likes her. The second trope is for, I can't pronounce this lady's name, but basically she's the lady from like 1001 Nights, and she's the main character of this second story. And basically a trope is aloof girl scared of falling in love meets a man that makes her tick and decides to try, but fate is cruel and almost takes him away, so she has to wait. I don't know why I wrote this. But basically, I don't know if it's just me, but this is such a common trope. Like, the third story is Psyche, and it is based on the myth of Psyche and Eros. And the trope is friends to lovers with the awkward phase before lovers, where they both try to be lovers, but goes back to being just friends, but then they try again. Just this like phase where you guys are friends, but then you decide that, okay, let's try being lovers. But it's awkward. So you decide, okay, no, don't let us be lovers again. Let's go back to how it was before. And then you realize that, oh, we can't go back to how it was before. And then you become lovers. The fourth story is Athem, and it is based on this Calabar folklore. And the trope is basically forbidden love that doesn't end in tragedy. I like that this is a forbidden love, but it doesn't end in tragedy. We love it. The next story is Ya, and it is based on a Ghanaian myth. Can't remember the name of the myth, but she wrote it in the book, so just pick the book and read it if you want to know what the story is based on. Trope is basically arranged marriage is keeping me away from my one true love in this crazy ass world. This character's parents, they are telling her to marry this one guy, but she doesn't love the guy, she loves this other guy, and arranged marriage is stopping her from being with the person that she also loves. Oh, this is one of my favorite trope, and it is from the story called Neleli. Neleli is based on this, I think it's a Lesotho folklore, and the trope is childhood friends, but we had a falling out when we enter high school because we are growing, and two of us are in different social strata. Then at senior prom, we realized that we've always had feelings for each other. This is so common. I love this trope so much. But anyway, these are just some of the tropes that I came up with. I need to read this anthology. Another thing that really helped me enjoy the story is before I picked each story, I read the original folklore, so it was easy to understand the beauty of what Babalola did with our contemporization of the stories. The only thing I don't like about the anthology, the reason why I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars, is that some of our writing in the first 10 stories were like trying to add, but the beauty of our writing shines in the last story, Alagomeji. That was the story that just made me realize that this girl can actually write. If she's not trying to add, she can write. Like, I can't wait to see some of the new stuff that she'll come up with. I think she has a new book, so we'll see how that goes. The next book that I read in February is Love is Beautiful When in Bloom by Lara T. Karim, my girl. And it is a collection of 7 short stories about love and desire and falling in love and romance. I like this short story collection because it was just nice, feel good. There was one story about somebody taking your love for granted because they know that you love them, and then you have to extricate yourself. You have to choose to love yourself better than you love this person, because obviously this person treats you like trash. My favorite story in this collection is A Rose in Bloom. Oh, I like that story so much. It was the right amount of swoon, and I think that's one of the stories that people were complaining about. Oh, I don't care. I haven't actually rated this book as that when I'm recording this. I don't know if I'm going to give it 3.5 stars or 4 stars, but yeah, the cover is gorgeous. But yeah, if you're looking for a feel good, nice short story collection, definitely pick that one up. I feel like the writing could definitely evolve. Yeah, this is the second book that Lara T. Kerim is publishing, so I can't wait to see her writing grow more in the romance genre, definitely. But it was a nice feel good swoony collection. The last book that I read in February is this graphic novel called Monstermind, dealing with anxiety and self-doubt by Afonso Casas. It basically just follows the author dealing with self-doubt, anxiety, old traumatic memories, imposter syndrome, random ass sadness, just stuff that most of us can relate to. I like how the story did not end with, oh, the author is happy, he has overcome all of his demons, blah blah blah. It was just very realistic. I can't remember the rating that I gave it, but it was likely 4 stars or 3 stars. I don't know, I can't remember, but I'll definitely put it on the screen. But yeah, these are all of the books that I read in February. I'm glad that I did this love theme thingy. If you've watched this video up until this point, comment the at emoji. Doesn't matter which color, red, purple, yellow, grey, it's fine. Just comment the at emoji. And if you've read any of these books, leave a comment in the comment section and we can discuss the books. I love discussing books. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Why haven't you subscribed to my YouTube channel? Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video.